what I need is a brush that I do not have. All right, guys, I'm gonna show you how to contour your face shape. Here's what we're gonna be doing. We are going to break down each section of the face so that you can tailor it to your face shape, because there are a million photos, videos out there to be like, how to contour your face shape. And then it basically is like a round face, an oval face, a square face. And it's like, personally, I don't think that they're all created equally. Duh. I mean, we're all different, right? So like every square face is not going to be exactly the same. If you're looking for like a very basic guide and you're like, I just want to do a little bit of, I don't know, light basic contouring, like something super, super light, and you just need some kind of a guide, those are fine. But if you're looking to like snatch it a little bit, you know what I mean? Or if you are looking to understand maybe your face shape a little bit more, your anatomy, that's what we're gonna be focused on. We're gonna get into it. So I feel like first I should contour my face shape, which a lot of you guys actually, what was that video that I did? Oh, I think it was my how I contour my jawline video. A lot of you guys correctly categorized as heart-shaped. It is heart-shaped. I have like a very small little, like a cute little chin. So my face kind of goes like, boop, boop, you know what I mean? So I have like I don't have a giant forehead, but I have a decent sized forehead. And then most of my face is, you know what I mean? When I gain weight, it looks more round, but it's fine. So I'm gonna show you how I contour my face shape really quickly, just to give you a basic idea, but I am going to be breaking it down by category. Okay, now I'm just rambling. All right, cool. All right, so I feel like most of us know, but if you don't, you're using dark colors to push an area back in space, and you're using highlighting colors, the light colors, to bring it forward. You're sort of when you're contouring your face, especially things like your jawline and your forehead, you're sort of re-outlining it, if that makes sense. So like this part of my face goes back in space, right? But only a little bit. If I want my forehead to appear shorter, then I want to put a darker color right here to push that further back in space. So it's going to make this part of my head look like it's going back, which means that it's shorter, if that makes sense. Think about like this sponge right here. When you look at it like this under part is darker because it's underneath, right? So if it were as light as this part, it would look like it was coming forward, which would in turn make this part look bigger. Like kind of if you can imagine that, maybe I can put like a little graphic in. If you can imagine this without this shadow, this all of a sudden looks flat, and it looks like this bottom looks flat, and then it looks like this bottom is part of like this plane up here. So the product that I'm gonna be using today to show you how I contour my face is from Dominique Cosmetics. If you guys don't know Vanity Makeup, she's fucking beautiful. It's really annoying. Anyway, she launched her own set of like contour palettes. This is the one for fair skin. So she basically, I think there's 5 total, but there's like a highlight, cream highlight, like shimmer, then a highlight to like define, and then a contour shade. So this is the fair one. This is perfect for skin tones that are like, it's a little bit more on the purpley side, so it's perfect for skin tones that are like neutral to more like blue undertones. If you have pinker, you can pretty much get away with it. I'm super fair and I'm super olive, for those of you who don't know. This shade isn't perfect for me, but I actually kind of like it. So I don't know, I've been using it recently. Anyway, that's what we're gonna be using. If you have a particularly long forehead, say you have an oval shaped face, you have a very long forehead, and you wanna make it look shorter, you're going to want to place the dark shade right in here. Now, can you see how doing that made my forehead look much wider? So if you are someone who has like a very narrow face and you have a very long forehead and you wanna make it look shorter, that's how you wanna contour it. Okay, because it's going to shorten it, it might widen it a little bit more. Basically what we're doing is kind of like refining our proportions. If you feel like your forehead is too big, then you want to do something like this, just to kind of like even it out. That's all contouring really is. But look at how my face changes when I contour this area right here. So now this area is also going back in space. I realize this is a lot, okay? So this right here is basically how I contour my face. I like to bring the contour down to like there, because it kind of puts all of this back and then it puts an emphasis in this area. Now what I would do with the highlight shade, I like to focus it right like that. Now if we blend that out, we got some dry skin there, so try to ignore that. But do you see how that like has defined that area in particular? Say you have a particularly wide forehead, but it's quite short, then you want to remove that and you want to focus the contour in this like area, the sides, to shorten that area and make it look a little bit more narrow. And then you would want to highlight all the way up to your hairline. But you have to imagine that my hairline comes down much further. And then pretend that all of my breakouts are popping. Quickly, I want to just point out that I am applying more product than I typically would because I want you to really see the shape of the face. So if you are a beginner contourer, or if you are like not trying to go in with like a shitload of makeup, or you just want like more of a natural look, go in with like way less than you think you need to. Particularly if you check out these palettes, they're quite pigmented. So you only need a tiny little bit. Just to recap, if you have a very long forehead that's very narrow, then you want to shade up here and highlight pretty much the rest of your forehead. If you have a particularly wide forehead and you have a very short hairline, then you want to shade here and highlight the rest, okay? So I wouldn't even touch up here. Does that make sense? And then that way you can kind of like tailor it to your face shape. So for the lower part of your face, like say you have a very round face and you're like this part of your face comes out really wide. Now mine kind of does, like this is like the widest part of my face, but I don't mind it because I have a heart-shaped face. And typically when you're contouring, you're trying to kind of bring all of the focus here. You're kind of like trying to create a heart shape, which is why people take their highlight like way out here. If you're like ridiculously wide out here and you don't want to bring emphasis to that, then you're not going to want to bring your highlight all the way out, okay? So I'm actually going to start off with highlight for this. So say you have an incredibly wide face and you want it to appear more narrow. What you want to do is again, do not apply this amount of product. This is just for your like the basics, okay? You're going to want to focus your highlighting just underneath your eyes. So if you want to like do crazy highlighting or whatever, you want to bring it in a little bit more, okay? So this is where your lights are going to go. And then what you want to do, once again, what are we talking about? Wide face, and you want it to be appear more narrow. You're going to want to contour this area to push that back in space a little bit more, okay? And then probably going to want to bring this in a little bit more. So this is going to help kind of shorten your face. Now, when it comes to your cheekbones, I think it's really important to understand your anatomy because not all cheekbones are created equally. Mine are the way they come in, and this is actually a really great tip for you to actually touch your face. Like take a finger and draw it down your cheek and see like, how does my cheekbone go? Like in what direction? Because for me personally, it's most flattering for my contour to be a little bit like that shape. But for you, if you have like big round cheeks and you like Chrissy Teigen, I always use her as an example, but you want to make those look more prominent, or you just want to like highlight that more, then you're going to want to like smile and follow your cheekbone. Does that make sense? Now, again, this is all personal preference, depending on like what effect you want to create. Personally, in my opinion, I think it looks most natural when you just kind of like go with your natural contours, if that makes sense. We have a wide face here, so we're going to be contouring this area and keeping our highlight in a little bit more narrow. Just going to show you what that looks like. Oh, my skin's dry today, huh? So if I bring this highlight in further, I want it to be like really close. Do you see how it just kind of like pulls my face in this way? And then the darker I make this area, not saying that you need to like go that dark, obviously, but the darker I make this area, the more narrow this part of my face looks. It just kind of like cuts off my cheekbones. You know what I mean? Not that you want to cut off your cheekbones, but if you have a very wide area here and you want to kind of like bring that in a little bit, that's what you want to do. Now, conversely, if you have an extremely narrow face, now if you want to make it look wider, then you want to take your highlight color Now this could just mean that you're using foundation. It could just mean that you're applying a little bit of concealer. What I mean is you don't want, like you want this little area that I'm placing this to be the lightest area. So it doesn't mean that you have to like paint on highlight, okay? Just keep that in mind. This is literally just showing you the planes of the face, the shape. I'm trying to give you like a general outline here. So you want it to start, the highlight to start a little bit wider. You don't want to take it in like way too close. And then you want to drag it out here. Depending on like what kind of lift you want, you might want to keep it a little bit lower. I actually like to highlight that area right there because it gives you a little bit more of a like Bella Hadid like snatch, you know what I mean? So this is the area that you want to be light. Can you also see how like it kind of does that, you know? But now this area looks so much wider. And then depending on like the shape that you want to create, you could possibly like bring your contour in a little bit if you really want that to be like, you know what I mean? But for a particularly narrow face, what I would do is just place a little bit right there. When you blend that out, like don't bring it in way too close because it can kind of like cut off this area, and you definitely don't want to like contour like this side of your face. Just like that, keep it further back. See, so that kind of like gives you an idea of, okay, so this is where my like my jaw or my, what is this called? My cheekbone starts. So it helps to define your cheekbone, but that bringing that light area, not like overdoing it with the bronzer or the contour, is really going to help like extend this area of your face. So you want this area to stay light if you happen to be extremely narrow. I'm just gonna keep this on because if you are also very, very narrow in this region of your face, then like in your jawline, what you want to do is rather than putting any kind of darkness down here, you actually want to highlight this area, which is going to help to define your jawline. Once again, could just be foundation, you could use a little bit of concealer. This is just the light area. See how it just kind of like defines that jawline? Now, if you happen to have an extremely wide jawline and you want it to look a little bit like cuter, then what you want to do is kind of extend that contour. So we've already got our contour, and then drag it down here. So you want to shade this area. And you can bring it in basically as much as you like really feel the need to, but I would start the darkest part here and then fade it in. Obviously blending is everything, don't forget that. But by darkening that area, it kind of like brings that in just a little bit, you know? You can actually see how now that I've brought that in a little bit, it's kind of emphasizing like this part of my chin because this is lighter. I think I showed that in my contour video, and I've stopped doing it ever since that video because I'm like, I don't have a big wide jaw, so why would I do that? If you're like me and you have a particularly tiny little chin, what I like to do is rather than contouring my jawline, I guess I do that, but I do my double chin. And I actually just did a video on this. So if you're interested in trying to figure out how to get rid of that double chin or minimize your double chin with makeup, then I will pop that up here somewhere. And that is definitely very helpful, or so I've been told by the people who watched it. But I don't really do anything up here because I've already got I got a tiny little cute little heart. So I focus it in this area down here. Now that is if you want to make this part of your jaw more defined. So I'm gonna leave that in that video. You can go on and watch that if you're looking for like that specific. But if you happen to have an incredibly defined jawline, for example, I don't know, I'll pop some examples of like celebrities probably throughout this video who have like the face shapes that I'm describing so that you can kind of get a sense, see if it applies to you. But if you have like, say you have like a, like put me in the Snapchat filter that makes me a dude and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Then what you want to do, and keep in mind this area, you want to use that contour in whatever shape suits you. And like I said in my jawline video, I go into that. So you're going to want to watch that if you want like specifics, but you're going to focus it on your actual jawline. So doing this is going to help shorten this right here is going to help shorten a super long chin. So if you happen to have like a very, very long chin, but your face is very narrow, forget this area, just go right on the end of your chin. And then if you're trying to minimize the length of your jawline, then you want to deepen this area all along your jawline. And then if you already have like a very like sharp jawline, then you don't have to worry about down here. But I actually talked about this in my other video. I said if I did this to myself, which I'm currently doing, if I just followed this area, made this dark, it actually like makes this part of my double chin come forward even more because we're pushing this part of my face back in space. And because this is lighter, it's coming forward. So like if I'm moving or if I'm talking, I'm gonna look really cute. So for me, I should have done this first probably. With my tiny little chin, I place the contour under here, and I'm gonna do this very vaguely because like I said, I have an entire video on it, but I'll place it down below to kind of like push that area back. And then what I like to do is this part of my face can get kind of lost sometimes. So what I like to do, and if you have like a very, 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 very tiny chin, then you wanna do this too. Say you have basically no chin, or say you have an incredibly round face. Say this bottom part of your face is just kind of like cut off here and you have like a lot of chin over here, like, or chin. You have a lot of jawline over here, like it's very more round. Then what you wanna do is highlight end of your chin right there. And that's gonna help to bring that forward, make it look a little bit more like this than circular. But for me, what I like to do, which is actually fine, I could probably do that, but I don't. What I like to do, because I actually like to emphasize my tiny little chin, so rather than bringing this down and making my face look more long down here, I actually like to focus my highlight right there, and then sometimes I like to do that. And the reason that I do that is because I have this weird thought that it will kind of like emphasize this area a little bit more and make me look more like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then basically like around your lips and stuff, it depends. If you tend to get like a lot of darkness, then you might want to just keep this area nice and light, which typically tends to look a little bit more youthful when this whole area is nice and light. And then I do have a lip contour video where I contour my lips, so I do put a little bit of darkness there. Sometimes I see people highlighting like right here, and honestly, I don't get that. Like, I think this part of your underneath your nose should be pretty light, but I actually contour around my lips to make that look a little bit more pouty. And I do have a video on that, so I'll pop that somewhere so you can watch that if you want. For the most part, you want to be keeping the light part of your face, like use your eyebrows as a guide, basically. And then a good rule of thumb for your forehead is cute little that. And then you can kind of adjust the darks, obviously, for your face. So if I was going to be doing myself right now, basically keep that. And then I like to define this area right here. Okay, not too dark. Bring that forehead down just a little bit, mostly just kind of like giving it dimension, focusing that highlight in there. And then I'll kind of like bring that contour like maybe right there, but I like to keep that highlight up here because I want it to be like, and then that's pretty much how I do it. I've actually been keeping my contour back a little bit further because I've noticed in a lot of videos that when I bring it in a little bit too far, this area it doesn't blend very well, and this area looks kind of like strange. This looks crazy. So yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so another tip that I want to give you really quickly is, and this is one of the reasons that you should watch a lot of professional makeup artists talk about contouring a face. Number one, because we all see ourselves differently. We're looking at ourselves in a mirror, and everyone else in the world is seeing us in reverse. So we have kind of like a warped view, I think, of our faces, or just a different view, I guess. It's not warped. I mean, it is warped. Fuck mirrors. Anyway, so something to keep in mind is that a professional makeup artist is doing makeup looking at the canvas in person, in real life. We are looking at ourselves in a mirror. Now, a mirror is going to distort. It's going to distort our proportions. You can't even really take a photo of yourself and use that as a guide. It does help a little bit, but keep in mind the fact that like an iPhone photo is for sure going to distort you, especially if you're all the way up in here. I would say the most important thing is step back, look at yourself from afar, assess your actual face. Contouring is all about understanding the anatomy. So there really isn't this quick like, oh, if you're round, just do this. I think you can do it with bronzer. I think those are really good guides for bronzer, like adding a little bit of warmth to the face. It's gonna add a little bit of dimension without like changing the shape of your face. But if you really are looking to like contour, your face, keep in mind that like what you're doing is meant to change the shape of your face. It is meant to enhance certain areas or minimize certain areas. So you really want to know what you're doing before you do it. And then also keep in mind that like all of those guides that say this is how you contour a round face, not every round face is created equally. So I'm hoping that you can kind of take those guides and then take this video to customize it for your actual face shape. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it was helpful. Honestly, when I film these videos, I never know that it's helpful, but these are the things that I've learned. All right, guys, I'm hoping that this gave you a guide. I understand that this was like, ow. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down. Well. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And I have a bunch of videos that are pretty much in this similar vein. If you are looking for like videos that are going to be educational, you will actually learn something. If you don't mind listening to someone talk, if you can stand more than a 2-minute video because your attention span is actually long in today's world, you might want to consider subscribing. All right, I gotta go because I need some water. See you next time. We are actually 3D individuals, believe it or not.